Right, in this video we still will be graphing quadratic functions. This time the functions will be in standard form. So at the end of this lesson you'll be able to graph a quadratic function that is in standard form. Okay, first of all, if you recall, standard form was y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and this is standard form because there's the squared is first and then the 1, it goes in order from highest power to lowest power. So notice there are no parentheses. So that's pretty much, if you see no parentheses, we know we're going to do this. The process that we are going to use to graph this is completing the square. What we are going to be doing in the completing the square is try to make it look like something that's in vertex form. So we want something that's in parentheses squared because then we know how to graph it. So completing the square notes, you will notice that x squared plus 6x plus 9 can be factored as x plus 3 times x plus 3 because it's what is called a perfect square. If you recall the bonus that I always had you guys do on this one, this would really be x plus 3 squared. So we want to end up with something like that. Okay, if something cannot be factored like that, what we are going to do is make it something by completing the square. So we're just going to go through an example and see how you do here. All right, we're going to create a perfect square trinomial out of the trinomial x squared plus 6x minus 7. Right, the first thing in step 1 says to rewrite the problem, leaving a space for the perfect square. So we're going to write x squared plus 6x, leave a space, and then we're going to just tag the minus 7 on the outside. All right, now the next step is to divide the x term by 2. So the x term is the 6x. We're going to do 6 divided by 2, and when I do that, I get 3. And then we're going to take this number and square it. So now I'm going to do 3 squared, and that gives me 9. The next step says to add this number inside the parentheses and subtract it on the outside. So we're going to put plus 9 on the inside and minus 9 on the outside, and we do that so that we're not really affecting the problem. We added it, we subtracted it. Okay, so did step 4. Step 5 says to factor the trinomial and simplify outside of the parentheses. So if I factor this trinomial, x squared plus 6x plus 9 actually factors as x plus 3 times x plus 3 if I went through the work and did that. And then on the outside, minus 7 minus 9 would give me negative 16. Okay, the fancy way of writing this again would be x plus 3 squared minus 16. I now have a perfect square trinomial. So that's the whole process. And notice now, if I were to graph that, that is in vertex form, and it would be something that we could graph. Okay, one thing that I would like you to notice so that we don't have to do this step here every time, when I divided by 2, notice I got 3. That will always be the number that ends up going inside of my parentheses. Right, we're going to try a couple more here. I have x squared plus 8x plus 11. What we are going to do again, we'll start the problem, we'll rewrite it, we'll leave a space, and then put the plus 11 outside. The next step was to divide by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and then we'll square that. 4 squared is 16, so we're going to put plus 16 on the inside and minus 16 on the outside. The next step was to factor this, and I just told you from the last problem when we factor this, the easy way to do this, we just found out that this will end up being x plus 4 squared. If you weren't sure, again, the x squared plus 8x plus 16 factors into x plus 4 times x plus 4, and that becomes the x plus 4 squared. And then plus 11 minus 16 gives me minus 5, and then we would be in vertex form and we would be able to graph it. All right, the next thing that we're going to do, let's try this. It would be great if you paused the video at this point in time and tried it on your own and see how you do. All right, we're going to have x squared minus 4x, leave yourself a space, minus 9 goes on the outside. We're going to divide by 2, so negative 4 divided by 2 will give me negative 2, and then negative 2 squared is going to be a positive 4, so if I put a plus 4 on the inside, we'll put a minus 4 on the outside. All right, this will factor as x minus 2 squared, and again, if I wrote that step down, I actually just saved myself a step. And then minus 9 minus 4 is minus 13. So once again, I would now be ready to graph because this is now in vertex form. We have done a few problems of completing the square. We're actually going to graph parabolas in standard form now. And again, standard form I said was y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. There are no parentheses. What we are going to do is convert to vertex form. All right, so let's just try a couple here and see how we do. Let's say I have y equals x squared plus 4x minus 3. Okay, so what we are going to do, since it's not in vertex form and we want it to look like that, we're going to do the completing the square process. So we're going to have x squared plus 4x, leave ourselves a blank, minus 3 on the outside. And then we are going to divide the middle term by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. When I square that, it will be positive 4. So if I put plus 4 on the inside, we put minus 4 on the outside. Right? So now, if I were to factor that, that would factor as x plus 2 squared, and then minus 3 minus 4 is minus 7. So now we have something that is in vertex form. So now let's go ahead and graph this. If I were to graph this, the plus 2 is going to force me to go left 2, and the minus 7 is going to force me to go down 7. So we're going to start in the middle. We're going to go to the left 2, and then we're going to go down 7, which I think I counted correctly. We're going to label that V. And then if you recall from the previous video, we want to find the 0 point. And to find the 0 point, if I plug in 0, 0 plus 2 is 2, 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 7 is negative 3. So my 0 point is 0, negative 3, so that's my other point on the parabola. And now I'm going to start at the vertex, and I'm going to make a smooth curve going up through that second point, and then I'll just mirror it on the other side. So there we go. All right, let's try one more. Let's say I have y equals x squared plus, actually let's make that a minus. Let's do x squared minus 8x plus 7. Hopefully this one will work out okay since I just made it up. All right, so it's not in vertex form, which means I know I need to complete the square. So x squared minus 8x, leave yourself a space, plus 7. All right, from here we'll divide by 2. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. And then negative 4, if I square it, will give me positive 16. So if I put plus 16 on the inside, we get to put minus 16 on the outside. And then I know that this will factor as x minus 4 squared plus 7 minus 16 will give me minus 9. So this is y equals, it's now in vertex form. I'm ready to go. Right, this minus 4 on the inside is going to force me to go to the right 4. The minus 9 on the outside is going to force me to go down 9. So I'm going to start in the middle. I will go to the right 4 and then down 9. Should be right there. So that's going to be my vertex. I'll label it vertex. And then once again, we want to find that 0 point. So if I plug 0 in here, 0 minus 4 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. 16 minus 9 is 7. So I'm going to go to 0, 7 and put a point there. So I'm going to start at the vertex, and I'm going to go through that one. It's going to curve up nicely, and then we'll just try to mirror it going the other way. So that is how you graph a parabola or a quadratic function that is in standard form.